I am so grateful that you made the time today and for everybody that's joining us. So, Chloe is the founder of Inward. She is a brilliant scientist, actually, I would call you, in the field of mindfulness. And so today she's going to join us and provide actually some tips for acupressure and meditation that can improve milk supply. So I'm just really grateful to have some of your time today, Chloe. And will you talk a little bit about your background, your journey, and then how you get started into acupressure and a little bit about what Inward is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a very interesting journey in my life, and it all really started from having early childhood trauma, like losing my dad at a really young age. And then from that, battling a lot with anxiety, depression, and then I had a late diagnosis of ADHD. So I had this plethora of mental health issues that I had to deal with from a really young age. But then on the other side of things, I was also an athlete. And so I was navigating, how do you heal through trauma, through anxiety, through ADHD, but also perform at your absolute highest. So from a very early age, I was really interested in that process. And so I studied biology to initially be a doctor, but found that the Western medicine route wasn't quite for me. I didn't really love the disease treatment model and also wanted to be a little bit more in innovation. So I studied chemical engineering, and that took me down a path through the pharmaceutical industry. And as you know, that's full of its flaws too. But um, through my own healing process, I got really interested in how do you get more into the body. There's so much healing and wisdom in the body that we're not told how to tap into.
Yeah.
And so that initially started mostly with breath work and meditation. And the more I meditated, the more the anxiety would go away. And so it became such a powerful tool for me. And then I just started opening up to other avenues. And there was, psychedelic medicines that were an interest and passion of mine. And then I got really interested in more Eastern medicine, so traditional Chinese medicine, and learning about acupuncture and acupressure. And so I just started sharing about my journey in healing through social media, and it started growing and growing. And so now where I'm at with it is my Instagram handle is Chloe Goes Inward. And something I've been working on for the past little while is creating a platform out of that. So making these tools really accessible to the population. So you can go on there and you can do acupressure, meditation, journeys, EFT tapping is another modality I really enjoy working with. And just providing that information and making that really accessible.
It's so amazing just to watch how your authenticity, and thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your journey and with your loss of your father,
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that I think, everyone carries their story and everyone carries an aspect of themselves that like just is longing to be heard and feel. and
Absolutely.
and you've really created, I think, like a paradigm shift when it comes to social media. Like I've watched you grow with your TikTok account, and it's really inspiring just bringing that level of transparency of struggles that go on our mind, but often we don't feel that we know how to connect with another human about it.
Absolutely.
Is the audio okay, or should I
Yeah,
take
no,
these?
you're good. You're good.
Okay.
I was like, I'm just turning up my phone so I can hear you a little better.
Um, and so I personally have been so touched and inspired by you. Also, for those joining that aren't familiar, Chloe's actually a wonderful friend of mine who she's just as wonderful in real life. And so, um, for those joining, my name's Lauren. I'm a primary care nurse practitioner. I'm the founder of the company, The Natural Nipple. Our mission is actually to make it so much easier for parents to continue providing breast milk, the first free food and life vaccine for longer. Specific to this population, what's been really interesting and what my passion has been that actually like led me to inventing the natural nipple was um, how we can basically alter our health and our well-being through the field of psychoneuroimmunology. So basically how like the mind and the nervous system and the immune system talk. And within that, the mechanism of the microbiome at the start of life really became my focus when I was at the beginning of my PhD. So long story short, that's why the natural nipple is here, because it's the most easy and controllable and corrective factor that we can do is provide breast milk longer. And that's why I'm really grateful today for you to share some really practical somatic hacks, because listening to women and also fathers for the last 6 years in terms of how they're struggling with not only the feeding journey, they
Mhm.
feel quite isolated from support. Like you just have this new human that's in the world, but suddenly you're just like, oh, how do I take care of it? There's like not a specific guidebook.
Yeah.
Like when Chloe arrived. uh, and on the other side of the actual, like, how do we make latching easier, which our
Mhm.
product does by 83%, there is so many struggles that I hear parents talking about in terms of their mental health and their well-being. They're not getting slept,
Yeah.
and the baby is screaming, and the baby is rejecting their body. And it's true that women can bring back their milk production by learning how to regulate the mind and drop back into this place of ease and reduce actually cytokines, like these inflammatory proteins. And so that's a little bit of the background of like why this is relevant. We know scientists who've literally like meditated their way into making their milk come back.
Which is incredible. Yes, there's some pretty interesting research coming out on like meditation, acupressure, and lactation. It's really, really powerful.
Yeah. So, okay, I would love to actually walk everyone who's joined us through practice. Would you be up for that? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Should we do like a lactation practice? Do we want to start with like meditation breath and maybe move into like acupressure? We could do that.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do it.
So, okay. So let's do it. So I know that feeding can be like incredibly, incredibly comfortable. So maybe I'll just give like two breath practices you could do and maybe two or three acupressure practices you can do, and I'll just like walk you through the entire practice. So
Perfect.
it's yeah, like you're touching on is like I think cortisol plays such a major role in everything in our life, and if you are stressed, everything in your body isn't going to be working properly because it's just going to be committed to surviving, and over the long term that can affect everything, and that absolutely affects breastfeeding. And so there are some tools that you can use that will immediately calm your nervous system down, and that's why breath is so powerful, and that's why acupressure is so powerful. And I can empathize so much with parents that life is crazy, you have this new baby, you're not sleeping, you're exhausted, and then you have to sit down and feed, and you're probably in the state of crazy amounts of cortisol. So these little breathwork techniques will just help you calm right down and just get you back to baseline. So the first one is the physiological sigh. So it's 2 strong inhales through the nose and 1 long exhale. So you could do that while you're holding the baby, pumping, whatever. It's just and like immediately you feel your heart rate just go and calm right down.
Yeah,
And
like
like instantly.
I'm not breastfeeding, but I feel a lot better.
Right? And then my second favorite one, this is really great too if you can't fall asleep at night. And it's just a really good way to like connect to your breath and just slow down. And this is like a variation of this Buteyko breath, but all it is nasal breathing. And I just instruct people to take a very slow as almost you possibly can, breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. So we'll do kind of maybe for a count of like 6. So just in through the nose as slow as you can. Imagine almost the air just like swirling. So, and now exhale as slow as you can. And then that just immediately like brings you back into the body, into the state of calm. You're really controlling your airflow. There's so much you can do with your mind and just purely airflow. How are you feeling, Laura?
I feel so good,
Yeah.
and it's only one breath in.
I know. So imagine you can't fall asleep at night or you're breastfeeding, and if you can just connect to that breath or the physiological side, that can immediately just calm your nervous system down.
Yeah,
And so
100%.
So the next technique I would use for breastfeeding is small intestine 1. So this is a really easy acupressure point. So it's on your pinky and just outside of the base of your nail. They say like 1 millimeter over, and you just want to squeeze it. And you can hold that for anywhere between like 30 seconds to 2 minutes even, and just take deep mindful breaths while you do acupressure. And the point with acupressure is you want enough pressure to kind of like feel the place being pushed, but you don't want to be in pain. You shouldn't be like causing yourself any kind of injury. So just holding that point, and that can actually like increase prolactin, increase milk supply. So that's a really helpful point when you are breastfeeding. And then the second point that I would recommend is gallbladder 21. And so that's in line actually. So if you just go up from the nipples and then massage your back. And this is like naturally, like where natural instinct would be to like, oh, my shoulders hurt, I'm going to massage this
Mhm.
area. And so that can actually increase like milk letdown and trigger that reflex. And so you just want to massage or have your partner give you a massage while you're breastfeeding. That's what I think is kind of the best bet. And you want to probably do this for about 3 minutes. And so that's
Mhm.
something that's really helpful that you can do while breastfeeding. And then I would say there's a few other points we can like quickly walk through, since you might as well, that might be really helpful for breastfeeding because I know a lot of new mothers have a lot of like upper shoulder and back pain.
Yeah.
Um, Especially when you're holding a baby, you're trying to breastfeed and your shoulders are shrugged. And so a really good way to relax your shoulders is this point. It's called triple warmer 3. And so if you just hold your hands like this and you go down, it's just below the knuckle and there's like a little indent here. And you'll feel this little
Mhm.
indent. And so I like to just like massage here. And actually, as you massage this, if you rotate your neck, you'll notice that you get far more movement. It'll really,
Oh yeah,
feel your neck like immediately opening up.
that's wild,
And
Chloe.
then you the other side, right? Like you're like, my neck
Wow.
is so tense. And so if you just rub that for a few seconds, it'll open you up and relax you a little bit.
This is absolutely unbelievable because it's like it's one thing to study the didactic benefits and to be impressed with the like breath work itself, like the holotropic has
Yeah.
been such a powerful tool for my own healing journey. But it's amazing when you have the accountability and the what was really useful was this really slow nasal breathing that you inspired in that visualization of imagine the air just like slowing down and swelling, seeing how much you can control and slow that down. It's almost to me that's why I think as well cigarettes can be so addictive for people because that filter actually encourages you to moderate and slow down the depth of the breath. And
Absolutely.
if you can just learn how to do that and be reminded through these very simple interventions that you're teaching us, it's just amazing. Like, wait, what was this one called again that we pinched to like release the
The
tension in the
neck.
shoulder?
This one's it's got a few different names. So TW3 or TB3, like triple warmer 3 or triple burner 3.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's just below the knuckle. If you make a fist, there's this indentation here, and you just rub it. And usually, like if your left side's stiff, rub the left hand. If your right side's stiff, rub the right hand.
Hmm.
I like to just do both. So that's a really powerful one. Um, Another one is like if you want to open your airways. I know if you're having a lot of anxiety, um, and you just like have tough time breathing. So take a deep breath with me right now and just see what your kind of like inhale is and your capacity is right now. So deep breath in. Okay, so now this is lung 11. And so you're going to take your thumb and place it on this part of your hand. And so
Hmm.
there's a tendon here and it's like always quite sore. So if you just press down on this tendon and take a deep breath in, you'll notice your lung capacity opens right up. So
Wow.
if your chest is tight, you'll be able to take a bigger breath. So that's another really helpful acupressure that's just really helpful for stress and anxiety if you're just like, oh, I can't breathe.
Yeah,
Open your airways up.
this is absolutely amazing. And I think what it's like subtly reinforcing as well, where we've heard so many first time moms or parents struggle is just like with self trust, like
Yeah.
because they just want to understand that they're doing the best thing for their child. And I think that when you really lean into the somatic work with these hacks that you're giving us, it subtly reinforces to the nervous system, oh yeah, my body knows what it's doing. My
Yeah.
like you have the tools that you need right here and right now, and you can trust that innate wisdom and intelligence that is in, yeah, and coming back to that state of inner peace and confidence, it's just so amazing how quickly these neurochemicals and these hormones, like you mentioned, like the prolactin, I hadn't seen the studies yet about that. That's amazing. That's already being quantified. And do you think you'd like to talk, or do you use with these techniques, Chloe, any visualization? Because I know Visualization is a very, very powerful tool. When I was in India studying under a doctor that was actually trained in Eastern and Western modalities,
Hmm.
he was just talking about the ability to concentrate, the mind and the vibrations that are quite literally created through thought patterns.
Yeah.
And what's amazing about that is you can induce, more oxytocin in your body if you're visualizing something, I think Rick Hansen calls it like the heal technique, which I've really enjoyed. And there's a part of the heal technique where you just imagine just like this golden mist like overtaking your body and recall a time that somebody told you how loved and how safe and how valuable you are. If you're really, thinking about that last embrace or that last time that you felt so good, your hormonal state can shift.
Absolutely. Completely. And I have a few different thoughts on this, and I think it's whatever resonates most with you in the moment. So
Mm-hmm.
when I have anxiety or when I need to go into like a call and I need to perform or something like that, I usually have like a few memories that I always almost have on lock. So like a moment in my life where I just felt so empowered, or a moment in my life where I just felt so much love and happiness, and I have those memories that I'm like, okay, I can tap into that anywhere. So I can just connect to breath, do an acupressure point, and go right to that memory and be like, oh, I just remember being so loved. And I think the second technique would be exactly what you said, is just imagining yourself flooding with love and light. I like to think of like a white light coming down and just surrounding me with love and beautiful energy when I'm doing these. And that really, really helps you to connect to that feeling of love. And the mind is so powerful that if you feel love, you will produce more oxytocin.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I would almost recommend is like you can do a loving kindness meditation, even especially with your baby. You can be holding them there and breastfeeding or pumping for them, and you can be calming down, and you can just picture them in your mind's eye, and you can picture yourself surrounding them with love and wishing them the best
Mm,
and protecting them with love. And I think that's like a really powerful bonding skill and
mm.
bonding meditation to do, is just sending them so much love as you're doing the process. And I'm sure that in like a roundabout, maybe mystical way, that might make the feeding process go a little bit better.
That's so beautiful. I love these hacks. Is there a particular practice, maybe unrelated to breastfeeding, for
Yeah.
those that are joining and maybe not like actively in the lactation journey, that you have found to be so profound for you? Like, is there a
Oh my,
specific, yeah.
yes, absolutely. So I preach this a lot, and I do a lot of videos of this on my Instagram. And this is like EFT tapping has been incredible for me. So it's basically combining acupressure, combining mindfulness, and a little bit of like cognitive behavioral therapy. And once you do it once or twice, you kind of get the hang of it, of where to tap. So if you're interested in learning EFT tapping, you can just Google it and it'll show you a diagram of the tapping points. But essentially, it's a really powerful way to transform negative thoughts. And this is like my number one go-to when I personally struggle a lot with anxiety, imposter syndrome. And so as soon as these feelings come up, I kind of stop what I'm doing and I just immediately tap on it and transform it. And it's been such a powerful practice. So just for an example would be kind of like, I usually start with like a setup. So I acknowledge what I'm feeling. And so I tap on, I say,
Mm,
okay, I am having anxiety. I'm feeling anxious. And, or even
mm,
though I'm feeling anxious, I completely love and accept myself. And I'll tap on that kind of like one statement until my nervous system calms down. And then I usually like to choose like a neutral statement. So, um, I surrender and I let go. I surrender and I let go. And I'll just tap until my nervous system calms down again, because at first you might have resistance to it, right? Like if you're trying to say an affirmation, your body might go, I don't really believe that. So you can just tap
mm,
until you kind of calm down and your body starts to believe it. And then I'll go in and say something like empowering, being like, I am powerful, like I've got this, I can handle anything. And I will tap until I feel that level of empowerment and energy come back to me. And that's only about a 2 to maybe, at worst, a 5-minute process. But instead of just stewing in the anxiety, it's been such a powerful way for me to just completely reframe negative emotions and stop them in their tracks. And so it's almost like you're doing your own cognitive behavioral therapy to yourself and somatic regulation. So that's been like such a powerful tool for me.
that is so helpful, Chloe. Like, this can transform lives. Like, when you're having these moments where there's no one around, you're feeling super isolated, which does happen so much for moms.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, what we hear is, you know, it's difficult to sometimes share the real and raw emotions
Mhm.
of what you're experiencing because there's so many studs around the journey of matrescence, which is like all the changes that occur in your body, and then while you're creating life and delivering new life. And the reality is a lot of moms don't and initially like feel this amazing bond. Everyone's congratulating you, but it's a new human that you don't know, and how you have to take the time to get to know. And I think being able to, it can bring up like so much shame, so much fear
Absolutely.
as well, of like if you're gonna be repeating old patterns, or are you gonna be able to do the best thing for this baby. And so what I think these techniques that you've taught us today really reinforces that self-trust, that resonance, that ability to come back to self and transform these doubts and fears that are normal. Like give them space and love and compassion, because
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
hard.
And
It's
like
hard
mothering
to
is
feel
hard.
that.
And I'm not a mother yet, but I can only imagine that transition is like, it's such a beautiful process, but also so challenging. And it's like, whatever you're feeling, it's okay. And I think it's really important to like love and accept yourself through it, being like, yeah, I'm struggling, or I'm frustrated, angry, and that's okay. And I think the biggest disservice we ever do to ourselves is feel these emotions and try to shove them down and not let
Mm,
them be seen and heard.
yeah,
And so I think what's beautiful sometimes about tapping is being like, I am angry, even like I am pissed off. And it's allow that emotion to speak and have space, because that emotion is serving you in some way.
yeah,
That emotion, telling you something or keeping you protected, and it's okay. And so very often in society, I think there's so much pressure, especially on moms, to be
hmm,
perfect, have it all together. And it's like, no, there's so much going on and it's okay. And I think creating that safe place for yourself to feel these emotions and express them. And the beautiful thing about emotions is actually when you do feel them and express them, like if you are really angry or really sad or really upset, if you allow yourself to actually just feel it and be in it, it dissipates in 90 seconds. But if you
yeah,
suppress it, it'll store itself in the body, and then that can present as disease and other things later on in life.
yeah. And you're teaching such a valuable skill that I really believe has the power to break like transgenerational trauma. And we look at Dr. Gabor Mate's work
Mhm.
and talking about, especially around the period of birth, there is so much suppression of authenticity for attachment. And it's normal because like as human females, this is getting a little bit into like evolutionary anthropology, but we're uniquely vulnerable. Like we really relied on tribe during this time to be able to bring into the world a baby that is cognitively like has the potential to have this prefrontal cortex. And so in order to deliver them without you dying, you give birth to an immature young. And so it it's a struggle like in modern society, I think, to get your needs met, because this is like what you are wired for, is to make sure this new life is going to survive. And so what is the thing that often people sacrifice is that authenticity. And this is what that tapping technique can give to you, is that space, is exactly like you said, to like look at with compassion what's real, like what is actually there, without
Mhm.
shutting it down. Because if you and I think back to probably like our most formative, you know, childhood memories, often like, what impacted us negatively was what our parents weren't given the space to
Mhm.
look at and accept and embrace entirely. So beyond just like helping with lactation, going into parenting, this practice is a really beautiful tool for healing.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think as parents too, like your children do pick up on your level of nervous system regulation. Also, they learn to regulate their nervous system through you. And so if you can show them how to regulate, I think that's also a beautiful gift.
Yeah, being able to pass this wisdom down, that, and I'm just so grateful for how simple it is, and also for the work that you're doing with Inward, Chloe, because you're showing up here on a platform that people unconsciously often are just digesting information, and you're showing up with something that's actually a reminder and a nudge. At least for me, when I see your posts, it's like, oh yeah, there is this inner wisdom that I can take like literally 90 seconds to tap into,
Mhm.
exactly like you said. It doesn't have to be, this whole block or this whole like healing retreat that we go to begin growing and giving ourselves the best.
Totally, absolutely. It's something that like the wisdom is there. There's so much power in healing in your own body. I mean, obviously traditional like Western medicine has its purpose, it has its place as well, but there's so much that you can access within that we haven't been taught. And so once you learn that there's so much wisdom and healing inside your body and you can just take a few minutes, it's a really, really powerful thing. It's really transformative.
I'm so thankful for you like going through some of these techniques. I'm like excited to jump off and just practice more of them. I would love to share. I would love to share if you guys can hear me okay. So, Dr. Shauna Shapiro did a meditation, and I'm sure she's okay with me sharing her experience, but she was actually able to bring her lactation back through some some self-compassion meditation. And the technique that she taught me in January, quite literally, Chloe, like we've talked about it offline,
Mhm.
has changed my life. And so I would love just to do that together with you
Yeah.
and share that
Okay.
with any
Yeah.
moms that are joining. Okay, so first we start with body scanning.
Okay.
And that is paying attention first to, and we can close our eyes, but any physical sensations, like if you scan with your mind from your toes all the way up to the top of your head, do you notice tension anywhere in your body? And if you found an area, like for me, it's here, just like over the heart, um, there's some tension. So you just ask yourself, okay, when was the first time that appeared? When was the first time you felt that? And if you gave it a voice, what is it saying? I want to be heard. I want to be seen. I want to be accepted. I'll just share really vulnerably with mine. And then once you've identified where it first came from and what it's trying to say to you, imagine what the kindest, wisest friend that you have would say about this tension that you're feeling in your body. Just kind of prime the subconscious mind with a more loving voice. It's easy to be objective sometimes if we don't feel like it has to be us forcing ourselves to say something nice to ourselves. And if you come back into the present with this feeling, maybe that sensation has shifted or changed, but is there a challenge in your life right now that you just need help with? What is that tension showing you? And once you have that question, you're going to take your left hand and you're going to just thank you for joining. We're in the middle of a self-compassion meditation. We have questions coming in. And so we're practicing techniques that
Mhm.
are actually proven to reduce cortisol
Mhm.
and actually can impact positively leptogenesis. So if you're struggling with milk supplies in your mom, this has been through friends who have gone through issues with lactation, a really, really powerful tool to help regulate the nervous system and bring that back. But if you're not actively breastfeeding, it's just really amazing anyway. So now that you have this challenge,
Mhm.
I close your eyes, and this is not meant to be forced. Like
Mhm.
allow your mind to just play. If you put out your left hand and you ask the older, wiser, kinder version of you to put something in your hand, what is it? And we'll just sit here and practice that really slow nasal breathing. And notice what comes out. Maybe you have a really clear image of what the older, wiser, kinder version of you looks like. And if you just get curious about that thing that they put in your hand, what do you see? Mm. At least for me, this has been such a powerful tool, Chloe, because I'll go and I'll journal
Hmm.
what it was the memoir of older me like put in my hand and what I'm interpreting that as I need right now. And
Totally.
it's like the subconscious like form of reparenting really. It's so beautiful. And then when I've talked about this practice out loud to other people and talked about what has been put in my hand, really kind of bizarre how you can just begin to like pull in what you need
Totally.
into your life. Would you be willing to share what you saw if you wanted to like go through your experience?
Yeah, actually. So, we talked about like like you were like, okay, where is your tension in your body? I'm like, okay, it's my shoulders. And what is this feeling? I'm like, okay, the feeling is overwhelm and fear.
Mm,
And so like the kind version of myself was like, you have nothing to fear. Like you just have a lot of tasks. You're okay. You know, you're just making it seem like it's way you're making it seem like way out of proportion. You're just overwhelmed.
mm,
And it's so funny, like I just saw you and you're like put out your left hand, and I saw the older version of me just going through and like scratching things off my schedule, being like, that's not important, that's not important. And it's just like showing me it's like you just need to reduce and cut out things that like aren't serving like what your higher purpose is. And
yes.
so like that was really helpful. I was like, oh yeah, I guess so. That makes so much sense. Because
Yeah,
sometimes I look at my schedule and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all these things, and I'm like, I really don't have to do all of this. Right? It's
exactly.
just like so crazy how like your mind just like knows, and if you just calm down and listen. Hmm.
It's it's so transformational because as well, this version, like the woman that I see, she's like 69 and she's got like really knobby rheumatic fingers, but she never actually talks to me. She just gives me this really kind, witty, playful gaze.
Hmm.
And I realized in the very first meditation of doing this, like what she put in my hand was super practical, like solved a lot of the challenges that I'm having. But it was this sense of like touching my hand and that you're not alone
Hmm.
and that you have like wisdom here and guidance and you can always tap back into that because I think that this practice is really fun because it's just play and curiosity but it gives your subconscious like access to your consciousness and um for me it's like the best role model. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to step into that like witty wise. She's a fox. Like
Yeah,
she's
absolutely. Yo, you got something to look forward to at 69.
Yes, and so it's really fun just to, begin journaling
Mhm.
what shows up like in my hand right now, for instance, it was like a pen and a paper and like that just goes back to wanting to be heard and understood and like giving myself the space and time to actually like write down and articulate and like process what needs to come forward. And I think it's very easy to get buried in the day to day and this is like such a great reminder that that wisdom that you need is like right there inside of you. And even if you feel alone in the latching journey or in the parenting journey, it's a beautiful opportunity to be able to really continue to heal and reparent yourself. And so I hope that everybody found these techniques super helpful, even if you're not actively breastfeeding. We want to hear if you walk through any of these, what came up for you. So
Hmm.
feel free to drop any questions in the comments. We're gonna post this as a reel.
Mhm.
And Chloe, is there anything else that you want to add in?
Um, you know what? I think we covered pretty much everything. I would just say like the most important thing, whether you're on like a cortisol journey or healing journey, just be kind to yourself. Just be kinder to yourself. You know, you're doing the thing, whether it's parenting, breastfeeding, starting a company, learning to love yourself. It's just like you're doing it and you're inherently worthy. So treat yourself that way. You deserve like all the love in the world. You deserve to give yourself as much love as you're giving your child or any other people in your life. You really deserve love.
Mm. That's so wonderful and beautiful. And I look forward to hearing everyone's experiences. Chloe, thank you for taking this time, knocking
Right.
this off of your task list.
No, this is like definitely something that I was looking forward to. I just always love chatting with you. I think we always have really fun conversations and come up with cool ideas. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one.
Me too. And for everybody that's joined from the Natural Nipple, do you want to talk a little bit about what Inward is or where we could find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to find me is just on my Instagram account right now at Chloe Goes Inward, and I'm on TikTok as well. And yeah, so for Inward, I'm hoping to launch that in the next couple of months. But yeah, just putting together like an online community, courses, programs, everything somatic healing, breath work, even like a little bit, woo woo, full moon manifestation things, just everything to show you that you are your own medicine and how to connect you to the body.